Hello, I am Ranabir in Googly Goals powered by Googly Mania, and we have a rest day today in the World Cup. We are waiting for the quarter-final matches, but the last week has been a fascinating one for all football fans all over the world. In the pre-quarter-finals, that is in the first knockout round itself, we have seen pretty good matches, flop stars, players who have come, and we have seen rising stars as well. Coming into the matches itself, if you look at the match between France and Argentina, well, Lionel Messi yet another time couldn't deliver what was expected from him. And it was all about Kylian Mbappe, the French striker, or rather withdrawal forward, who is one of the costliest players in the universe, who plays for PSG. He powered his way through the midfield and scored two blistering goals, and that's what you can expect from youngsters. Well, the scoreline said 4-3, but don't expect that the match was a one-sided match or something. Even going into the first half itself, it was pretty closely poised. Di Maria scored a fantastic goal. But when Mbappe went with the midfield itself, scoring brace altogether, it was all end for the Argentinian team. The team selection has been point of great debate, whether Sampaoli, who chose not to field someone like Diabla, a youngster who plays for the Italian team, or Italian in Serie A, he wasn't taken in the team, and Kun Aguero, he was taken in the 11 way something around 10-15 minutes left, and probably that affected the match result. And so many Argentine fans in Kolkata, they were pretty sad to see their favorite team going back home. Coming to that match, on the very particular day itself, we saw Cristiano Ronaldo strolling over the field and couldn't take past the defense of Uruguay, and we saw fantastic two goals from Edinson Cavani, and he being assisted by none other than Luis Suarez, the mercurial striker from Barcelona. Well, much has been said whether this is the last World Cup for Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, but whatever. On the very same day itself, both the superstars from Real Madrid and Barcelona, they had the same fate. And the football fate is something we have seen all through the years. Big players not performing on big occasions. On the very next day itself, we have seen the biggest upset, probably the biggest upset of this year's World Cup. Spain losing to hosts Russia. You'd be surprised to know that Spain played more than 1,000 passes in the match itself, and Russia played meager 400. So 1,000 to 400, and yet when you see how come Spain lose this game out, even when spending 60% of the time in the Russian penalty box. That's what happens when you make a mess of team selection. The Spanish team didn't have any other positive striker other than Diego Costa or someone like Thiago Aspas. They must be ruining that why didn't they take someone like Alvaro Morata or veteran Torres. Well, they can definitely ponder about, but credit goes to the hosts Russia with their emphatic victory. And I would like to point out the defense organization. It was spectacular. When you are playing against players of the caliber of Iniesta, who retired after the match, you have to be spectacular in defense also. And in the match between Croatia and Denmark, full of emotions, I guess the Manchester United fans can remember how the senior Schmeichel, who was doing this and this for his son Kasper Schmeichel, who saved a vital penalty in the dying minutes of the match. But alas, Denmark lost the match, and it was sad to see players like Eriksen and others missing the mark in tiebreakers. And Croatia, the team of Luka Modric, Rakitic, Mandzukic and others coming up, winning and going to the quarterfinals itself. Well, we weren't expecting Denmark to play that well, but Denmark gave a pretty good fight. I believe that Kasper Schmeichel, the goalkeeper for Denmark, is definitely going to move out to another big club from Leicester City, where he has been playing for the last 2 years. Next comes Brazil, the Selecaus, whom we support from Kolkata itself. Brazil had, the scoreline says the team won a pretty comfortable match, but believe me, in the first 30 minutes itself, it was all about Mexico, and Chicharito with his new hairstyle itself couldn't manage the goal. And I guess the Portuguese fans, supporters itself will ring the fact that the team didn't have a target man. They didn't have good finishers, and that's why Brazil, led by Neymar and other players of the caliber of Coutinho, Paulinho, Wagner and others ended up on the winning side. And believe me, I believe this Brazil team definitely has got the capability of winning the tournament if everything goes well. But there are some areas I guess the coach Tite is going to look concerned. And thankfully, Neymar didn't roll out again. And that's something we can expect. The next match between Belgium and Japan, probably the most competitive match we have seen in the knockout round as of now. Yeah, believe me, in the second half itself, at one time, Japan was leading by 2 goals. And Belgium, they were not having any clue, especially even after having players of the caliber of Eden Hazard, Romelu Lukaku, Vincent Kompany and others. But thankfully, the coach made Roberto Martinez came with a tactical change, and Fellaini, the tall like striker of Manchester United, he came in, and yeah, the height actually played an important thing, and that's why Japan conceded 3 goals, and that's how ended all Asian hopes upon Japan. But credit to them, because they really looked like going into the next round. And well, there have been many supporters saying that, well, this Belgian team considered as the golden generation of players, whether do they have the capability to reach the quarterfinals or going to the finals itself. Japan did give them shocks, and we saw in Facebook as well that when the Japanese left, their dressing room itself had been pretty clean, and the Japanese supporters in the stadium itself, they took every waste and left it in the bin itself. Well, hats off to the Japanese supporters who had been coming up with such credible effort, because you know, World Cup is a big event, World Cup is a showcase, and when you have such inspiring supporters, you need to give them kudos. The very next match between Sweden and Switzerland, as you know, these Scandinavian players and these European players, how do they play? Defense, 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 and Sweden come up with a late score. And in the very last match, probably the most controversial match of these, the last knockout round match, England and Colombia, Harry Kane's England managed to win, and yes, in penalty shootout. Because we know from the era of Beckham, the era of Scholes, the era of Gascoigne, we haven't seen England winning out in the penalties shootout. But thankfully this time around, with a young bunch of players like Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Raheem Sterling and others, England did win this game. So we have seen some pretty good matches, but as far as my personal favorite is concerned, the Belgium-Japan match was a pretty good one, a tantalizing one, and Belgium scoring the match with just a minute to spare. And the England-Colombia match, the nasty match, still we have been talking about why didn't that Colombia player get a red card for headbutt. In case if the referee decides that, yes, we can give a yellow card to headbutt, then why did Zidane get that red card against Materazzi in that infamous World Cup final? So we have seen such good teams playing together. All credit to the fans itself, because they have been supporting. But one thing I want to point out is that we had got 3 matches which went into tiebreakers itself. And in the tiebreakers, we lost teams like Spain, Denmark, Colombia. There are discussions whether tiebreaker is the best method to eliminate teams in such big tournaments or not. But I guess the biggest upset from this is definitely the Spain losing out to Russia itself. We'll be back after a short break, and then I'll be talking about the quarterfinal teams who are going to come up from Friday itself, champions of champions, and it's going to be a heated debate. Stay tuned.
जिक्र जब भी जीएसटी की होती है तो नजरें ढूंढती हैं जीएसटी दोस्त विकास धनानिया को।
नमस्कार विकास जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आने के लिए।
विकास धनानिया बात करते हैं पूरी जिम्मेदारी के साथ
कि यहाँ पर गुड्स को रिसीव्ड नहीं किया गया है। हाँ, लेकिन तब आपको ये प्रूफ करना पड़ेगा कि भाई हमने तो हैंड रिक्शा से मंगा लिया है।
आम आदमी जीएसटी को जानना चाहता है, लिहाजा सवालों का अंबार है। इन्हीं सवालों को समेटते हैं हमारे होस्ट राकेश। हर ट्यूसडे और फ्राइडे रात 8 बजे होस्ट राकेश और दोस्त विकास धनानिया हो जाते हैं आमने सामने, सिर्फ आपके लिए जियो बांग्ला पर। देखिए जीएसटी की बात दोस्त के साथ जियो बांग्ला पर।
Hello everyone, we're back in Googly Goals powered by Googly Mania, and we are here to give you more updates, brainstorming sessions with the coming quarter-final stage of matches in this World Cup. We have seen pretty closely contested matches, and already so many teams have been eliminated. We have got the round of, whether you can say the quarter-final teams, 8 teams, and 4 teams are going to be eliminated in the next 5-6 days. So it's going to be a pretty closely contested one. Rather, I can say we have come to the business end of this year's World Cup. 8 teams: France, Uruguay, Russia, Croatia, Sweden, England, and Brazil, Belgium. 8 teams. Well, going into the FIFA rankings itself, we can definitely see the lowest ranked team, Russia, is going to play against Croatia. And if you ask me which team is going to be the dark horse for this year's World Cup coming into this stage, I'll definitely love to see Croatia. And as far as the teams are concerned, there are 3 teams who have never won World Cup from this group of players. 4, sorry, Russia, Croatia, Sweden, and Belgium. I'm not technically taking Russia because the Soviet Union was different. Puskas and all the players still represented the Soviet Russia. So Sweden, Belgium, Russia, these 3 countries, they have got pretty good chances to make this World Cup a much bigger event than their fans expected. Let's go into the first match between France and Uruguay. They have got their contrasting styles of play. France is a European team, and on the other hand, Uruguay plays in typical Latin American style. We are yet to get confirmed reports whether Edinson Cavani is going to play in the match, but definitely they have got good players, stalwarts of football: Luis Suarez and Diego Godin. Diego Godin, I guess, is one of the main reasons why Uruguay has conceded only one goal in the last 4 matches, rather the 4 matches in this year's World Cup. And if they have to win this match against France, Diego Godin needs to captain the team well in the defense itself. In the very last match itself, when they are playing against the likes of Moutinho, Ronaldo, Carvalho and others, the defense played pretty well, and although they conceded the goal in set piece when Pepe scored with a scorching header, still after that they didn't succumb to the continuous pressure from the Portuguese players. As far as France is concerned, probably other than England, they have got the best bunch of youngsters. And I have some personal favorites too. On one hand, you have the boss, N'Golo Kante, Paul Pogba, Matuidi. They have one of the best midfield players we see in the world football today, daily playing for France. In the forward, they have got Oliver Giroud, who has recently went on to Chelsea and has been scoring goals, but in this World Cup itself, he doesn't seem to be in that good touch to score goals, but he has been coming up with vital assists, and we can see this has really helped players like Mbappe or Antonio Griezmann. Now coming to Griezmann itself, yeah, there have been debates whether he's playing in the best form or not. See, he has a pretty different role of playing when he plays for Atletico Madrid than when he's playing for Russia itself. When he plays for his club team, Diego Simeone takes a very different approach. Mostly he plays as a lone striker up front. That's how he gets more balls. But when he's playing in France itself, a team which has got so many goal-scoring players, chances become limited. And if you want me to say whether this pair of Oliver Giroud and Griezmann, whether they have come well or they have gelled well, it's difficult to say. But when they have good players of the caliber of Mbappe or someone like Pogba behind, it's definitely a pleasure to play up front, because you will keep on getting good supplies, balls coming in time to time. Speed is definitely one of the big aspects, and we saw against Argentina how Mbappe went inside, and players like Marcus Rocco and others, they were simply clueless. And I believe in this match also, while Uruguay is going to definitely push the match towards extra time, France need to score an early goal. Here, Mbappe's role is going to be very important. There have been discussions whether they made a mess of it by not keeping someone like Karim Benzema, who plays so well for Real Madrid, into the team. Well, I say they already have a good bunch of players, and they can't definitely afford to have such. Going to the very next match, Russia versus Croatia. Well, host Russia, expectations are upon them whether they can go to the semi-finals or not. When they have good players like Cheryshev, Golovin, and I'm pretty impressed with their goalkeeper, Akinfeev. Well, this is going to be difficult for them because on the opposite hand, they'll be having Croatia. And Croatia have got pretty good players. Luka Modric, the bandmaster of the Croatian team, and they have someone like Rakitic, Mandzukic, this young bunch of players. So this match is definitely going to be an evenly balanced one. But I would like to add one thing, that in the very last match, Denmark exposed Croatia to some extent. And a player of the caliber of Luka Modric even missed a penalty. So you can't have the last word in such big matches. And Russia, you know, barring those 3-4 players itself, we were not at all acquainted with the names itself, and they are coming with pretty good disciplined performance. One of the trademarks of this year's World Cup has been the small teams playing so better against the big teams. That's why we don't have teams like Germany, like Argentina, not in the quarterfinals of this year's World Cup, at Spain as well. So Russia's target will be not to concede a goal. That is going to be a primary target, and we have seen they have got a pretty solid defense, a defense which is not susceptible or doesn't succumb early goals. And if they can keep the match and they can score a goal something around the second half, around 70th minute, the 80th minute itself, you never know, Russia can reach the semi-finals. The match between Sweden and England, I'm not a big fan of the Sweden team, especially when you don't have a character of the caliber of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. But in the game against Group League game when they played against Germany, I saw the purpose in them. That's what I think Sweden is going to be a difficult component for English team. Yes, the English team has got very good players. They have someone like Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Raheem Sterling. They have got so many good players, but when they are playing in the club level itself, they don't play together. So coordination is going to be a big thing. And the very last match yesterday, we saw that when England was playing against Colombia, we saw that they were suffering when they were going in up front. They were not having that good ball possession, and in the very dying minutes itself, we saw Colombia scoring a goal, and ultimately the match went into the tiebreaker itself, where Colombia lost the match. Still, this is going to be a match where the English players need to play well. The Three Lions, coached by none other than Gareth Southgate, need to showcase they have tough mentality. With so young players around, one thing is for sure, that the English players are going to run throughout the match. But if Sweden can come against such good defensive composition with which they played against the Germans, or that sort of forward style which they used against the Mexicos, where they won 3-0, I think Sweden is going to be a very difficult opponent for the English team. Coming into Brazil, Belgium, I guess this is going to be the best match of this year's World Cup. Two teams having superstars all around. This match certainly can be called as Battle of the Titans. In Brazil, you have got Neymar, but don't forget the basic difference between Brazil of 2014 and Brazil of 2018 is that in this Brazil team, every player has got another player to substitute. This is where I think Tite has done a fantabulous job as far as team composition. We know in the last two matches, Marcelo couldn't take part after back spasm in the match against Serbia. But see who has come in place of him, and Felipe Luis has been fantastic. Yeah, we know that Casemiro is not going to be playing in this game, but they have got players of the caliber of Marquinhos. And Brazil defense has been the talking point throughout this World Cup. Thiago Silva along with Miranda, they have been carrying the Brazil fort, held in the Brazil fort pretty well. And Alisson, he is pretty different customer altogether. He's not like someone like Julio Cesar or typical Brazil goalkeepers. We know he probably is going to play in Madrid or Chelsea in the coming days. The goalkeeping position is another thing where these two teams, where Belgium have got Thiago Courtois and Brazil have got Alisson, key positions being having pretty good players. As far as Brazil's upfront is concerned, Coutinho who has been the best player for Brazil this World Cup itself, is in pretty good form, and he has to play a very important role. And when you have Willian came up with a very lackluster performance in the first few matches, but in the last match we saw what Samba magic can do, and this is where I think Willian's role is going to be very important, especially when he's going to continue his runs through the right flank itself. And in the middle, obviously Neymar is going to be the pivot for the Brazilian team. And these players like Paulinho need to play well, because when you're playing such big matches, you need to hold the shape of the team, and maintaining a shape which is not something we get acquainted with Brazil. See, percentage play is one thing, and winning a match with purpose is different. In the last few matches we have seen, the intent is there among the Brazilians. They are looking much more composed, rather relaxed, and even if they concede an early goal against Belgium, I do think they have the firepower among themselves to score another and probably winning the deciding match. As far as Belgium is concerned, Romelu Lukaku's form is something with which we are pretty worried about, because Lukaku didn't have that good a season in the Manchester United team. He's some sort of big bully who plays pretty well against small teams, but when against tough oppositions, probably his form isn't inspiring enough. But thankfully they have got very good playmakers, Hazard and Kevin De Bruyne. When these two players, they play with each other in a midfield, it has to be one of the best teams. And they have got Fellaini. And Vincent Kompany's return, who has been a legendary figure at Manchester City, his return in the defense is actually a great assurance to the Belgium team. So all these players coming together, I think Belgium, as far as team composition is concerned, you can't say that Belgium is way behind than Brazil. It's an evenly balanced team, and this match I'm certainly waiting to see. So all these four matches, all these four deciders are going to be very important, because we know we'll be having the teams for the semi-finals. And if you ask me who are going to be your teams, I believe Brazil can come up with a win with a narrow margin against Belgium. England is expected to win against Sweden. France, well, it's going to be a pretty tough match for the Les Blues, but I believe the France will definitely come up winning. And again, Russia-Croatia match, well, the hosts, they have got good opportunity this time around, but you know, as far as football skills are concerned, Croatia to some extent is way ahead. So France, Croatia, England, Brazil, these four teams are going to be my winners, and I would love to see England play against France and Croatia playing against England in the semi-finals. We have to wait for another few days, and on Friday itself we'll be seeing teams coming up with the best form. And you know, but one thing we should remember, this VAR has been the most controversial thing. We have seen teams like Iran, Morocco and others, they've been on the facing rather the other side of VAR. But definitely the next four matches are going to be very crucial, and I would love to see if a new team wins this World Cup this time around in Russia. Anyhow, follow Googly Mania, check our Facebook, Twitter and updates in YouTube as well. Don't forget to subscribe in YouTube. Till then, bye-bye, take care and support your best team. Thank you.